In just 1 year, Temu exploded from obscurity to become a global shopping phenomenon, skyrocketed to 51 million monthly active users in the US, threatening Amazon's dominance.
Colin Huang, the tech tycoon and founder of e-commerce giant Temu, has become China's richest person.
From a Shanghai apartment building to becoming China's richest man almost overnight, Colin Huang's journey is no ordinary rags to riches tale. Behind the flashy giveaways and rock-bottom prices lurks a disturbing reality. From forced labor camps to digital espionage, and a founder who vanished at the height of his power.
It's interesting that once you get to the top of the China rich list, you kind of disappear, and that's probably by design.
Temu's rise might just be the most dangerous development in e-commerce history. Where did Temu come from, and how does it make money selling dirt cheap stuff? Will it revolutionize global retail, or is it a house of cards waiting to collapse? Colin Huang, born in 1980 to factory workers in Hangzhou, China, shared the same background with a fellow tech giant, Jack Ma. A brilliant student, Colin attended the prestigious Hangzhou Foreign Languages School, where he was classmates with the children of China's political and social elite. After graduating with a computer science degree from Zhenjiang University, he left China in 2002 to pursue a master's degree at the University of Wisconsin. In 2004, Huang graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a master's degree in computer science and landed his first full-time job as a software engineer at Google. This was a pivotal time for the tech giant as it was preparing to enter the Chinese market. Huang became part of the team responsible for Google's expansion into China. Google grew rapidly, and Huang's bank balance suddenly grew a lot too. During his time at the company, Huang saw how challenging it was for foreign tech firms to compete with local Chinese businesses. Despite Google's big brand name, Huang noted that the company struggled to recruit China's top talent. Huang resigned in 2007. His Google shares would be worth millions of dollars after the search engine's IPO. Watching how quickly money changed some of his early Google co-workers left a lasting impression on Colin. It was like they had been transformed overnight. But as the saying goes, wealth can corrupt even the purest of hearts, and Colin was no exception. Over the next few years, Colin tried his hand at different businesses. He started an online store called Alco that sold electronics, then a company helping others sell on Taobao, and finally a gaming company for WeChat. The last two were pretty successful and made him a good amount of money, but after selling them, he felt lost, unsure of his next step. He spent a lot of time studying two big tech companies, Alibaba and Tencent. He noticed something interesting. They were like two puzzle pieces that didn't fit together. Tencent was amazing at social media and games, but couldn't figure out how to sell stuff to its users. Alibaba was great at selling things, but couldn't build a strong community like Tencent. Colin had a light bulb moment. He saw a chance to combine his experience in gaming and e-commerce. He wanted to create a shopping experience that was fun and social, like a game. With an initial investment of $8 million from his friends Duan Yongping and William Ding and other investors, Colin launched Pinduoduo in April 2015. Colin Huang designed Pinduoduo to feel like a game, where shopping becomes a treasure hunt filled with bright colors and hidden deals. Much like exploring a Costco, Pinduoduo keeps customers returning with new surprises daily. While the discounts are impressive, the best prices are unlocked by teaming up with friends and family, adding a social twist similar to Groupon. Pinduoduo's growth was astonishing. In just 4 months, it attracted 10 million users. A year later, that number doubled, and 5 months after, it skyrocketed to 100 million paying customers. The company quickly raised $100 million and within 2 years was valued at over $1 billion. The momentum continued in 2018 when Pinduoduo raised $3 billion, followed by $16 billion 3 months later, going public on the Nasdaq with a valuation of $60 billion. This crazy rise turned Pinduoduo from a startup into a giant in just 3 years. To put it in perspective, Facebook, Airbnb, and Alibaba took 8, 12, and 15 years respectively to reach a similar milestone. Such huge growth, but you'd be wrong to think there wasn't something darker going on. Wall Street is buzzing about PDD Holdings. Out of 56 analysts trading the stock, a staggering 53 are urging their clients to buy. It's a glowing endorsement, but the weird thing is, they're making these recommendations based on surprisingly little concrete information.
PDD is known to be minimally communicative as far as the business is concerned, and generally it is a very secretive business by nature, by culture. They tend not to give too much away on earnings calls and such.
Since its IPO, PDD has operated without a chief financial officer, and they've instead cycled through vice presidents of finance. This unconventional approach raised eyebrows, but it was just the beginning. Last year, PDD faced a major crisis when Google Play Store suspended their app, citing malware concerns. While PDD denied any malicious intent, the incident cast a long shadow over the company's practices. It begs the question, what kind of corporate culture allows such alarming oversights?
From talking to employees, even they don't really know their colleagues' real names, they use nicknames.
WeChat groups between staff members are actively discouraged.
Looking at that in a positive light, you might say they're doing that because they face Alibaba and JD and they don't want to reveal how they operate to their major competitors.
The company's obsession with offering rock-bottom prices has led to a disregard for product quality. Customers often find themselves settling for damaged or substandard goods, the reality accepted as the price to pay for the bargain. This lax attitude towards quality has transformed Pinduoduo into a platform notorious for counterfeit products and customer dissatisfaction. The company's legal battles over counterfeit goods have further damaged its reputation. Desperate to salvage its image, Pinduoduo then undertook a massive cleanup by removing countless stores and products. However, this aggressive approach alienated manufacturers, leading to threats against the company's staff. The platform's reputation deteriorated to such an extent that users were actively seeking ways to distance themselves from it. Then came Pinduoduo's intense work culture. Despite its image as a champion of the working class, the company has been accused of pushing its employees to the brink. To fuel its rapid growth, Pinduoduo has lured top talent with generous compensation packages. They literally recruited talent from Alibaba and JD.com with offers of up to 60% higher than their current salary. However, the allure of high salaries comes with a steep price: grueling work hours. The company's motto, "The more you strive, the more you earn," has taken on a sinister connotation as employees find themselves trapped in a relentless cycle of overwork. In January 2021, a 22-year-old collapsed and died on her way back from work at 1:30 a.m. To be fair, a lot of people work long hours and it does not literally kill them, but the incident served as a lightning rod for criticism of the company's 996 working schedule. That's working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. It seems like PDD might crumble under the weight of its brutal work culture. But then, just when everyone thought PDD was down for the count, something unexpected happened. Huang's company pulled off a surprise move that would change everything. A new brand emerged, ready to take on the world beyond China's borders. This shocking development would not only save PDD, but propel it to new heights.
If you are an internet user, you'll see Temu everywhere.
In just over a year, Temu has exploded across social media platforms, captivating millions of bargain-hungry shoppers.
You open up the app and there's like a roulette wheel that you spin and you get a prize, and the prize is usually, here's a whole bunch of, dollars to go buy stuff. And then as you're searching through products, first off, you're amazed at how low the prices are, and then you see a ticker of how much time is left before, this offer expires or before they're sold out of that product.
Temu employed marketing strategies very similar to Pinduoduo, but in a more aggressive manner. Its social shopping model encouraged users to share deals with friends and family, creating a viral effect, rapidly expanding its customer base. The company made a splash with traditional advertising, investing approximately $30 million in a Super Bowl campaign that included $15 million for ad slots and another $15 million for giveaways and coupons. However, their most ingenious tactic was a buzz-generating prize giveaway. They bought thousands of popular items like Nintendo Switches and priced them ridiculously low. Imagine seeing a Nintendo Switch for just $7. It created this crazy buzz, and everyone was wondering what's going on. It was an absolute marketing goldmine. For the cost, it was one of the most successful campaigns ever. Suddenly, hundreds of millions of people knew about Temu. Of course, they couldn't offer a $7 Nintendo Switch every day, but they showed people they could get similar products for a fraction of the price compared to Amazon or other big-name stores. This massive marketing push, coupled with influencer partnerships, catapulted Temu to extraordinary heights, quickly amassing over 161 million monthly app users worldwide. The phenomenal success of Temu has had a profound impact on its founder, Huang. In August 2024, at 44 years old, Huang became China's richest person, with a staggering fortune of $48.6 billion. Temu launched in the US and Europe in 2022, during a tough time for many people. The world was dealing with several problems, recovering from COVID-19, an energy crisis, the war in Ukraine, and worsening climate issues. These problems led to high prices everywhere, making life harder for many people. Temu came at just the right moment. Temu's unprecedented success stems from its innovative approach to e-commerce. Temu keeps prices low in two main ways. One, lower fees for sellers. Unlike Amazon, Temu charges sellers much less to use its platform. This means sellers can offer lower prices. 2. Smart product design. Temu uses a method called C2M, customer to manufacturer. They collect data on what customers want and like. Then, they ask manufacturers to make products based on this information. Often they suggest making items a bit cheaper to produce, even if it means slightly lower quality. This helps keep prices down.
The products that we as Western consumers are buying on platforms, for example, like Amazon, the high cost of them has a lot to do with the fact that they need to create a brand. They spend a lot on marketing. They do consumer surveys to try and figure out what we want. All of this costs money and is baked into the price of the product. Temu has stripped that away. They've basically said, okay, we're going to go straight to the manufacturer, use algorithms to predict what shoppers want online, cut out all of this brand creation fee cost structure, and ship these goods directly from the factories to shoppers in the West.
So you've fallen for the hype. You downloaded the Temu app, spun that enticing wheel of fortune, scrolled through a sea of discounts, and finally pulled the trigger on that suspiciously cheap $10 smartwatch. Now comes the waiting game, as your prized gadget makes its journey from a factory somewhere in China. But hold on, it's not all smooth sailing. There's a catch to this seemingly too good to be true deal. Not every Chinese manufacturer can easily ship their goods to the US, and that's where things get interesting in Temu's business model. A congressional report says there's an extremely high risk that Temu's supply chains have forced labor.
There's actually a genocide being propagated against the Uyghur people in a place called Xinjiang province in the northwest corner of China. 23 million Uyghur people are having their cultural identity erased. Upwards of 2 million are in concentration camps. As a consequence of this, we passed something called the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, because one of the things that's happening along with the genocide is that hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs are being pressed into labor in factories making all sorts of goods.
And it goes beyond that. Temu's super cheap prices aren't just for customers. They help the company use a tricky shipping rule called de minimis. This lets them skip paying taxes on cheap items. The government doesn't like this trick and is looking into it.
Under our Customs and Border Patrol law, where goods under $800 that are shipped directly from China to residential homes escape all tariffs and duties, and they don't really have a lot of information about their place of origin. So they are also able to potentially skirt the laws that prohibit goods coming from Xinjiang.
To put this into perspective, while other retailers like H&M and Gap paid hundreds of millions of dollars in import duties at US borders in 2022, Temu and Shein paid nothing. These two companies alone accounted for an estimated 30 to 50% of all de minimis shipping into the US, translating to approximately 600,000 packages daily that bypassed customs, avoided import duties, and essentially flew under the regulatory radar.
As a shopper, if you're just going on the Temu website, you would have no idea that this is a Chinese company.
On Temu's website, they've sporadically been updating their founding story. At one point, they listed on their website their connection to Pinduoduo, but at the moment, they've removed any mention of China and say they were founded in Boston in 2022.
I think it's fine for a company to be secretive. Apple famously prides itself on secrecy. However, Pinduoduo takes this to an unusual extreme. PDD withholds basic financial information that public companies are expected to disclose. This opacity has fueled wider concerns about the company's practices, particularly regarding data privacy and security for US users of the Temu app. Investigations by CNN and cybersecurity teams have revealed that the app may be collecting far more data than typical shopping platforms, potentially exploiting vulnerabilities in the Android operating system to access user information without consent. These practices allegedly go beyond standard data collection, enabling the app to monitor activities across other apps, view private messages, and even alter phone settings. The situation is further complicated by fears that this data could be shared with the Chinese government. Given the country's history of incorporating large tech companies into its system of data collection and political control. This turbulent environment made the timing of its founder's departure all the more intriguing. Huang had long expressed a desire to step back from the day-to-day grind. When he finally made the leap in 2020, selling off a significant portion of his shares and relinquishing leadership roles, the business world was taken aback. Huang's departure sent shockwaves through the market, wiping billions off Pinduoduo's valuation. While he cited a desire to focus on life sciences and agriculture, the timing raised eyebrows. Huang's situation echoes a familiar pattern in China's tech landscape, where billionaires like Jack Ma have found themselves suddenly under intense government scrutiny once their wealth and influence reach a certain threshold. Is Huang's departure a preemptive move to avoid a similar fate, or is it part of a much larger, more complex strategy? Did Huang foresee the storm of ethical scrutiny and potential legal challenges on the horizon? The answers remain elusive, but the questions cast a long, dark shadow over Temu's meteoric rise and the true cost of its seemingly unbeatable deals. But what does this mean for Temu's future? Some analysts say that Temu's stratospheric growth isn't sustainable. A Morgan Stanley report noted that the company's momentum is cresting, suggesting its rapid expansion may soon reach its limits. A large number of companies have attempted this cross-border e-commerce approach, directly shipping products to consumers in the US and Europe. Products at the same fraction of the price were offered by Wish.com many years ago. If you recall, why did it fail so badly then? Will Temu face the same fate? Wish.com launched in 2010, offering a model similar to Temu's, super cheap stuff straight from China. They exploded in popularity with massive ad campaigns just like Temu. This strategy seemed to work. Their revenue jumped 33% and they got a fancy IPO valuation of $14 billion. But Wish was actually losing money. They used their IPO money to keep those ads pumping, but by 2022, their cash was drying up. They slashed their marketing budget by 77%, from $1.7 billion to a measly $250 million. The results were brutal. Revenue plummeted by a staggering 73%. Remember all that super cheap stuff? Turns out, it wasn't very high quality. People bought it once, realized it wasn't great, and never came back for more. Wish needed those constant ads to bring in new customers, but spending billions on marketing forever just wasn't sustainable. Their stock price? Down a whopping 99% since their IPO. So what does this mean for Temu? They'll eventually have to cut back on those flashy ads too. Maybe they'll start charging for shipping or require a minimum order size. The question is, will their users disappear once the freebies dry up? Can they build a loyal customer base with something more than just rock-bottom prices? Well, Temu has a few aces up its sleeve that Wish didn't. With growing scrutiny over labor practices, product quality, and data privacy, Temu's future is uncertain. However, one thing's for sure. The era of unchecked growth and rock-bottom prices can't last forever. As consumers become more aware of the true cost of those irresistible deals, Temu will need to adapt or face the consequences. In the end, the future of Temu isn't just about an app or a company, it's about us, the consumers. It's about the choices we make and the values we prioritize. Are we willing to turn a blind eye to the potential exploitation and security risks for the sake of a good deal? But Temu is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. China's tech giants are increasingly shaping our digital world, often in ways we don't fully understand or see. And perhaps no company exemplifies this more than TikTok. So if you thought Temu's story was intriguing, just wait until you see what's behind the TikTok curtain. Just click the thumbnail here, and I'll see you there. Cheers.